Carving maxillary first premolar. First of all, we will start with measuring the length and the width of the crown. The width of the crown is 7 millimeters, so we will start by measuring the width. 5, 7. This is the width. Okay, then we'll start with measuring the length of the crown, which is 8.5 millimeters. You can measure 9 millimeters, okay, 0.5 millimeters, not change the subject. Then the length of the root, which is 14 millimeters from the cervical line. This is 10, this is 14. This side will become the buccal, this side will become the mesial, palatal, and distal. For the drawing, we can't add points. We need 5 points at least to draw up the labial surface. First point will be the tip of the cusp, which is located in the center. Then the contact points for the premolar are located in the middle third of the tooth. And the cervical line, we can subtract 1 millimeter on each side in the cervical line, like this. Then you can draw the buccal surface of the tooth. Okay, here too. This is a crown. Then we will draw the root. It has a little bit of distal inclination. Okay, now start carving the buccal surface. We'll carve till we reach the drawing which we have on the wax. Okay, then the occlusal third should be a little bit sharp, not blunt. Okay, the distal side or the mesial side. When you're carving, the buccal side and the palatal side should be equal, so you don't have to draw again on the palatal side too. Okay, then we go to the medial side. On the medial side, from the buccal side to the palatal side, you will measure 9 millimeters. That's the width of the crown from the height of contour on the buccal to the height of contour on the palatal. This is 9 millimeters. Okay. You can draw this line by the ruler or a free hand. Depends on you. Okay, now carve this part so you have the width of the crown properly. Okay. The tip of the cusp of the buccal cusp is located 3 millimeters away from the buccal side. The palatal cusp tip is located 1 millimeter away from the palatal surface. So from here you will measure 3 millimeters by your ruler. Let's say it's right here, 3 millimeters. The palatal one is about here. That's the tip of the cusp. Okay. Now we'll extend the cervical line to the medial surface. It is 1 millimeter. It has 1 millimeter depth. On the distal, it has only, this is the lingual, it's 0. On the distal, it should be a little bit straight. Okay. Now what we'll do is extending a curved line from the height of contour, which is located about here in the center, to the tip of the cusp, like this. Okay. And the lingual side also, it is about here. The tip of the cusp is here. We'll do it like this. Okay. Now you can carve this part. You'll follow the drawing. Just like this. Okay, this is a buccal aspect, and then the palatal one. Okay. You will end up with something like this. Okay. Now we will draw the roots. The roots, the same. The tips of the cusp are in a line with the tips of the roots. The tip of the cusp is here. You can draw an imaginary line to mark a point, or you can just measure from here, from the buccal to the palatal, 3 millimeters. Is at the tip of the cusp. On the palatal side, only 1 millimeter. It's about here. Okay. Then from the cervical lines, you will draw the roots. Okay. The bifurcation area is located in the center of the root. It's where the two roots split to each other. Okay. Now the palatal root. Just like that. Now I'll carve the roots. I'm just following the drawing which I have drawn on the medial side. This is the buccal, this is the palatal. Okay. Now for the bifurcation, you should use a sharp and pointy object. For example, this might be good. Okay. we'll carve it from the medial to the distal. It should be separated. You go to the distal, you just give it a shape. Just like that. Now you can finish the roots by rounding all the sharp edges. These are all sharp edges, sharp angles. They all should be rounded. Okay, just like that. Here too, in the furcation area, it should be rounded. On the palatal surface too. Should round it. It should be devoided of any sharp edges, sharp angles. Okay, for a primary shape this is good. We'll finish it later. Okay, this is a palatal, this is a buccal. Now what I should consider doing is narrowing the palatal root, the palatal cusp. The palatal cusp should be narrower. For narrowing it, you can draw a line like this and follow the line. Okay, look at my hand. I will carve it in 45 degrees so that the crown becomes narrower. Okay, as you can see, it is getting narrower. Look at the buccal, it is wider, it should be about 7 millimeters. The palatal side should be narrower, it's around 5 millimeters. Okay, after you have done this, you will locate the central groove. The central groove, it is in the center between the two cusp tips. Let's say it's about here. So what you will do, you go on the medial or distal or both as you wish. From the occlusal surface towards the roots, you will mark 3 millimeters. Let's say you are doing it on both sides. And from the tip of the cusp, you will draw a line like this on both cusp tips. From here too, from the both cusp tips to that point. Now you will carve this part. Okay, as you see, you will end up with something like this. So far, so good. Now, what you will do, you will go to the buccal and the palatal surfaces of the tooth. Let's just draw this cervical line again. Okay, from the tip of the cusp, you will draw a, let's say, an imaginary line like this on both sides. Okay, then you will carve it on a 45 degrees on both sides, medially and distally. So you will create the ridge for the cusp, as you see, just like that. On the lingual surface, or let's say the palatal, just like this. You can see here we have the ridge. It's not flat, it has a ridge. Okay. The final step is making the cusp slopes, cusp ridges. We have on the buccal cusp occlusally, you will draw a line from the tip of the cusp towards the central groove on the palatal sink. Now, just as we did here, we'll carve on both sides in a 45 degrees so the center of the ridge becomes elevated. The palatal cusp should be shorter by 1 millimeter than the buccal cusp. Okay. Now you give it a general shape for the tooth. You can use a sharp object, just like this, or a needle to create the central groove, just like that. As you can see, we have these ridges which we created on the occlusal surface, and we have the central groove which separates them from each other. Now all I have to do is removing any excess, any sharp edges if I have, giving it a general shape. That's all. The cervical line, to make it perfectly seen, you will carve like this from the root towards the cusp, towards the crown. Okay, and then on the opposite side from the crown to the root. Now give it a good polish.